use to change the audio settings. At the moment, you're all muted. All you can do at the moment is listen. But if at any time you need to be unmuted in order to ask a question, you can always look in the middle of your screen and you should see a raise hand option. So if you click on that, we'll know that you need help and I'll come and address whatever the issue is. Whether that is you're having an issue with Zoom or if you want to be unmuted to ask a question directly to our speaker, that's what the raise hand option is for. You'll also see a chat option in the middle of your screen. If you click on this, you'll be able to interact with us, the panelists, or you can choose panelists and everyone to send your message to. Our speaker will be taking questions throughout the webinar today, so you can always type a question that you have into that chat box there, and I will make sure that our speaker gets that question. If you're having trouble seeing that, it could be because the webinar at the moment is full screen, and I'm sharing my slides at the moment, but in a moment I'm going to be handing it over to Madeleine. She'll be sharing hers. This will automatically make it go full screen for many of you. If you just press escape and then you click on chat, it will bring up a chat bar in the right-hand side of the screen, and so you'll be able to see both the slides and the chat bar at the same time. I know that there's been some confusion with how do I look at chat and see the slides at the same time, and it's usually just because there is a full screen. So the library is open again, back to our usual hours, 9 to 9, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 6 Friday and Saturday, and noon to 6 p.m. on Sunday. If you're coming into the library, we ask that you please wear a mask. If you're not able to wear a mask or if you're more comfortable, you can also check out materials via our curbside service. If you have any questions about that, we're happy to answer those at the very end today. You can also get expert help from any of our specialists or librarians in career, technology, or business by going to our Book a Librarian page. That's champaign.org/books-a-librarian. We're also able to help you via live chat. We're also able to help you over the phone during any of our open hours. And you can always email us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week via the librarian email that you see below there. We probably only monitor it during open hours, but you can always feel free to email us with any of your questions. So without further ado, and I am so happy to present to you Madeleine Wolske. So at the moment, I am for one more day the business librarian at Champaign Public Library, but starting on Wednesday, and today I'm just going to say we're co-business librarians. So we're both the business librarian today. Madeleine will be taking over for me. I'm really, really excited. I couldn't be handing this over to anybody better than Madeleine. I'm really, really happy that she'll be stepping in and taking over for me. Full disclosure, I did cry listening to her practice this presentation the other day. So I hope you guys, well, I hope nobody cries because that's a lot, but I hope that everyone enjoys it as much as I did. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Madeleine, who's going to share her screen. And you can just start sharing at any time, Madeleine.
Yep. Thank you so much, Stephanie. I really appreciate that great introduction. And I agree. I hope no one does cry today.
Yeah, no, not today.
No.
Maybe me again. I don't know.
Okay.
To that end, I'm turning off my video.
Thank you. All right, well, welcome again to today's Start and Grow Your Side Hustle, a part of our Start and Grow Your Business launch series at Champaign Public Library. I'm Madeleine Wolske, incoming business librarian, and I'm excited to bring you this presentation today. So some pursue the side hustle because they want additional income, or they also might want something that gives their life texture, purpose, or meaning that they might not be finding in their 9-to-5. Operating a side hustle gives you the opportunity to try on the aspirational role of entrepreneur safely and slowly. This casual nature creates a safe, designated space for people to play and experiment with aspirational identities. Side hustles allow you to reap the benefits of independent work while retaining the stability of a traditional role, thereby avoiding the major downside of full reliance on gig work. So you can see the LinkedIn study, and the majority do pursue a side hustle for monetary value. But I found that starting a side hustle not only pads your income, but it also creates career-changing opportunities you wouldn't have had normally stumbled upon at your full-time job. By dipping your toe in, you gain entry and acknowledgement with other professionals in their field, which helps legitimize your activities to others. Many side hustles have lent to new jobs. Hello, I'm your new business librarian. Useful relationships, and lifelong friends. You can also consider how it can improve your overall attitude. Having a side hustle offers empowerment as you are able to shape your work and its context to you. And lastly, if you're wanting to eventually explore how to make your side hustle a small business, freelancing as an entrepreneur can actually increase the odds of a business survival once you're ready to transition to a full-time venture. So who am I? I'm a side hustler. I have owned or operated 3 side hustles in my professional career. So while I managed the Champaign Ladies Amateur Wrestling, I was able to help hustle over $30,000 in donations to local nonprofits and charities. Although I didn't earn income from this role, I gained valuable skills in marketing, event and project management, and it was incredibly fulfilling and really fun. With Imbibe Urbana, I collaborated with local businesses to create events that increased revenue, facilitated partnerships, and provided a platform for makers to sell goods at markets. And my current side hustle is Made by Mew, where I make modern and colorful polymer clay jewelry. Step 1 is choosing your side hustle. You need to recognize your natural abilities. Ask yourself questions like, what is my personality like? What are my current abilities? What are my goals? What would I be doing if I had more time? I recommend making a want-to-do list and breaking that down even further. It's important to recognize that your experiences, your background, everything that makes you you is marketable. Get creative when thinking about your skill sets. For example, if you love animals, maybe pursue a dog walking service that can extend to pet sitting, pet training, or even pet boarding for vacationing owners. If you're organized, maybe that can translate into some really valuable administrative skills. If you enjoy social media, you could become a content creator or even manage other businesses' social media from the comfort of your own home. I also want you to consider your full-time job. Does the pattern of your job experiences reveal maybe special interests or aptitudes? For example, I'm a librarian, so I love being organized, and I also love creating events for people to enjoy. So I knew that my side hustles should foster an environment of creativity and also have some social customer service component. You also need to recognize if you have experience or if you need experience to get your side hustle up and running, or if you need more training. For example, I know someone who they really enjoy giving people therapeutic massages if they've injured a muscle, but if they would want to make that a side hustle, they would need licensing in massage therapy in order to offer that to the public. That would also include anything in real estate or a lot of food service. Also be realistic. So if you're best bookkeeper, but you hate interpersonal interactions, do you freeze when it's the time to call up potential clients? Or if you don't like interacting with individuals, how are you going to sell your business? So it's really important to kind of understand what are my strengths and acknowledge your weaknesses. So lastly, sometimes it can help to do something similar to your full-time job because you're already using a set of skills that facilitates both your full-time position and your side hustle. For example, if you've worked as an administrative assistant for many years and your typing skills are excellent, starting a typing service offering word processing, resume editing, or copy editing makes sense. But you have 2 things to consider with that. When you're balancing your similar full-time job and your side hustle, will it affect your emotional health? Could you see yourself burning out by doing too much of the same thing for 10 plus hours a day? Also, if your side hustle is similar to your full-time, consider the ramifications to your full-time job. Many organizations could consider your side hustle a conflict of interest or an infringement of employment agreements. If your side hustle is similar to your full-time gig, check company policies, talk with your HR, talk with your manager to ensure working on a side hustle would not be a violation. Next, make sure your side hustle is unique. Whichever industry you choose to enter, it's a good idea to specialize because defining your side hustle will help you stand out and allow you to truly identify and recognize what consumer you want to target. For example, you work in customer service, but you love cooking at home. By saying, okay, well, maybe I want to start my side hustle as a home chef. That's really broad. Okay, what specifically do you enjoy cooking? Well, maybe I prefer baking to cooking, and I narrow it down even further by saying I like doing vegan baking. So we already have a sort of customer layout. We are doing vegan baking, so we're marketing to vegans who maybe are interested in healthy recipes and people who are patient enough to bake. Okay, so that has a good idea of what customer we want to identify. Um, why else do you love vegan baking? So maybe there's nothing that gives you a greater pleasure in making food and the aspect of sharing it with the people you love. So that's social. This makes me think like maybe that person's ideal job would be a Food Network host, which is a major leap, but you can narrow that goal down smaller by creating maybe a series of free online video tutorials of you showcasing your vegan baking. You could even turn this into a passive income stream by creating online courses where you create some more videos, maybe podcasts, recipes, how-tos. You could even open that up further or narrow it down further by saying, well, I want to specialize in deliverables where people can create shopping lists or maybe help them research ingredients or make meals at home. There's another possibility there too. If you're not into content creation, you could start hitting up your network of friends, family, and colleagues and offer to teach hour-long cooking classes on Zoom for maybe $30 a person. So that brainstorm, I really recommend you doing because that helps you identify your ideal customer. And the goal of researching is to identify your ideal customer. So now that we have a good idea of it, what makes your idea better than others? Essentially, the ability to sell it to the people who are willing to buy it. So I recommend start looking at the industry as a whole. And we have several resources at the Champaign Public Library to help you discover the demographics you want to reach, analyze the current market, identify customer spending habits, or even create mailing lists and map your results for a visual representation. So I'm going to exit out of my slideshow at the moment and show you the champaign.org, which is our webpage you can visit from home. And on the second menu option, so submenu, you can see business. So I'm clicking that right now. And in order to access some of these databases, it's taking us to the business page. Scroll all the way down to the bottom. So after business services, we have a really convenient list of business tools that you can access today. So for example, I'd mentioned looking at the demographic, Gale Business, Demographics Now, and also Reference USA. Those are excellent tools. So I'm going to talk a little bit about these, but this presentation is focusing on the breadth of side hustles rather than going into anything in depth. And I really encourage you, if you want more information about any of these tools, please don't hesitate to contact or email me at the end of this program, and we can start brainstorming and utilizing these resources. So not only when you, excuse me, you need resources not only when you're identifying your ideal customer, but you might need to have more skills related to what side hustle you want to do. So we live in a time where online education is incredibly accessible. With COVID, more resources are being digitized for consumers to use. For example, Eventbrite. Now they have pivoted to leading classes online from social justice to entrepreneurship. So here's some additional resources. LinkedIn Learning is formerly lynda.com, and that, again, lots of classes from software training to computer programming. We also have Gale courses, which are 6-week courses taught by college instructors. I really encourage you to just explore some of our resources. And also, if you don't have a Champaign Public Library card, again, contact me and we can figure out a solution to help you access some of these amazing products. All right, back to the slideshow. All right, so after you've utilized your library resources, I recommend you considering your community and network. So do you have peers or people in your community, friends, and on your private Facebook account or LinkedIn channels where you can trade or barter skills? So while I project managed wrestling shows for Claw in exchange for some creative brainstorming sessions with a peer, they loaned me the most valuable time management and delegation sheet that I've ever had the opportunity to access. And using that sheet or trading my skills with her, I was able to help ensure that the show I was managing was organized properly and was also executed successfully. So always reach out to networks. All right, number 3, liability and potential income. Think permits, rules, and regulations. There are 2 questions you need to ask yourself when you're deciding how to organize your business. And that's 1, how liable are you going to be? Think skincare if you want to cook. If people are consuming anything, putting it on their body, they could sue you. You don't really want to be liable for that. So these are things you need to consider, think of when you are figuring out what organization of business you want. The other question is, how much money am I anticipating to make? With side hustles, people typically generate an income of about $5,000 a year, and that's based off of a Harvard business survey from last year. But again, that $5,000 a year, that's totally dependent on how much time and energy you're putting into your side hustle. But if you're wanting to maybe think of, you're going to make excess of maybe 20 grand, 50 grand. That's another aspect of your business's legal structure that you're going to have to look into. So we have 2 resources that you can access on our website. And again, this is in the same, if you go to the business page, scroll down to the bottom, the City of Champaign business portal, and then also Illinois Legal Aid Online. Again, if you are not sure which sort of structure you should model your business after, get in contact with me and we can figure that out together. All right, do I need a business plan? So the joy of a side hustle is that it's very informal and it emphasizes starting small. So back when you identified your traits and interests and what type of side hustle you wanted to start, you might have started thinking about the steps that would take to make it successful. So those steps include defining small, SMART and clear goals. So SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. So I made one of these SMART goals when I started my jewelry making side hustle business in October 2 years ago. There was a winter market that I knew I wanted to participate in. So I needed to have my side hustle established before then in order to participate. So I gave myself small SMART goals. One of them was like, I want to create 100 earrings by December 1st for Mistletoe Market. So that's smart because I had 2 months to do this. I made it measurable. It was easily attainable because I could make maybe 5 or 10 pairs of earrings a night. And it was time bound. So I had that deadline of December 1st. The next thing you want to do is a good viable side hustle should be launched, monetized, and iterated or performed repeatedly in sequence. Drawing up a simple action plan that lays out key milestones and deadlines that will guide you from start all the way to your launch date. So for the jewelry business, I had that December 1st deadline of when I wanted everything done. So I also had to figure out, okay, how long is it going to take for me to print out business cards? How long will it take for me to create basically how I want to display my jewelry? Taking those into considerations, making those milestones, that's going to be your way of miniaturizing that big dream and making it realistic, because those steps are easily achievable. And small steps lead to big actions. Think back to the example of the brainstorm of the vegan baker. That big dream of maybe being on a cooking show. We slowly broke it down and identified aspects of that could be successful and fit in with regular life. All right. Marketing plan is next. So first things first is everything you share has value. So you're building a brand, a reputation, and you want people to trust that. When it comes to social media posting, there's so much content and not enough time to consume it. So don't just put something out there for the sake of posting. Think of the objectives you want to achieve from it and make it count. So how are consumers going to find you? With COVID, we have to consider that people aren't really going out. So maybe they're listening to the radio more. Maybe they're on Facebook a lot more. So think about, do you want to set up a website? When should that happen? Or are you creating deliverables like email newsletters, posters, or flyers? Are you going to have business cards? What does that look like for your side hustle or your brand? So being consistent is so important because that's what really stands you out from your competitors. By finding your niche, you're displaying your unique knowledge, and that really shines through to potential customers. By figuring out how to differentiate yourself, other people will then know how to see you and seek you out. So I recommend kind of thinking about maybe going on Instagram, and if you have a favorite brand or business or influencer that you follow, you might see similarity between their posts. Maybe there is a repetitive voice that they use, so they only have 2 emojis for each post, or you sense a specific hue, or they only post pictures of their product. So like this is a stylized shot I did with one of my pairs of earrings, and I wanted to focus on a flat lay and maybe opportunities for what you would wear with it. This voice, this branding, kind of gives your ideal customers it's showcasing you. It reflects your personality, who you want to reach. So I wanted to reach someone maybe who wears leather and who likes kind of that really modern, minimalistic plywood background. So by showcasing that on my social media, that is kind of, I'm basically putting a lure out. I'm attracting the ideal customer that I want to find by making sure that my voice and marketing style matches what I want them to have. And lastly, really understand that when someone purchases your product, they're not buying just that product. They're doing it because they've been presented you and your brand, and your product appeals to them. So they're not only investing in your product or service, they're investing in you and your story. All right, managing income. So having one space in your office or your house where you put your items related to your side hustle is absolutely valuable. On LinkedIn Learning, there's this excellent course on time management, and Dave Crenshaw, who leads it, he talks about having multiple gathering points. That could be your electronic voicemail, email, a bulletin board where you put your keys when you come home. Those are all spaces that gather items that you haven't necessarily processed or put into a specific place. Try to minimize those because having all of your items organized in one spot is going to allow you to manage your income so much better and so much easier. So I use just a simple Google Sheet to identify how much money I've purchased for polymer clay, or for maybe I bought business cards, tracking literally everything that you're putting into your business, and also that people have purchased from you, is a way to make sure that you're not cheating on your taxes, you don't feel any guilt, and also just keeping this in the back of your mind, having one space for it, really eliminates the amount of stress that you'll be outputting. So if you need assistance, maybe figuring out how Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel works, we do have tech workshops at the library led in a similar format. So I really encourage you to look at our calendar and event page to see if anything would be of interest. But also going back to the resources I mentioned earlier, Gale courses, LinkedIn Learning, there's so many resources available to kind of get on that slow tracking of information. So I have a friend who runs Coop, so Kid Owned and Operated Play. It's a great nonprofit, and I remember she told me once, when you don't think you'll need an accountant, that's when you already needed one, but like 2 weeks ago. And that is so true. When you're considering taxes and expenses, it's so important to really stay on top of what you're spending and what's incoming. So when I started just making jewelry, I never thought, I didn't have the confidence in myself to think I could turn this into a side hustle, because I just started making them for friends and family as Christmas presents. So I didn't keep any of those initial receipts, and I probably spent around 50 bucks. But I could have kept those receipts. That technically could have been a business expense. So I want to encourage you, if you think your hobby or service can be monetized, start tracking it yesterday in order to make sure you get the best bang for your buck. So this is the most difficult thing for me, determining how much to charge. This was my biggest obstacle because I had only just started making this as a hobby, and it was really hard for me to think of, well, like, why would someone buy this from me? I mean, I didn't really have any experience. I thought they were beautiful, but I wasn't sure that I could successfully monetize my skill, and I didn't know how much to price it out. So first steps first is seeing how much to charge. How much is too much, and also seeing what are others offering for the same price. So luckily in Champaign-Urbana, we have a really big maker community. So I was able to go to similar art fairs and see how much are people paying for these. And I also asked myself, how much would I realistically pay for a pair of earrings? So that gives you kind of a starting point. So that starting point is your starting rate. So for a product, if you're making something, calculate the price of the items you're using, like baking supplies, jewelry supplies, and then be sure to take into consideration how much time you spent on creating said product. Determine how much you want to pay yourself per hour. If you're offering a service, I really recommend looking at fresh out of school salaries. So I casually just Googled the starting rate or the salary for a graphic designer. And so that's 39 grand. You can essentially calculate that hourly by just dividing 39 by 2, which is $19.50, or about $20 an hour. So if you're starting at the very bottom, you might not have any experience in something. Really starting at that fresh out of school rate is a good starting point for your product or your service. So once you have that starting rate, you then need to calculate the value of what you're providing. And it's so important to remember this, but value of your product or service is determined by your buyers. The price is determined by you. So we equate value with service experience. Think about a freelancer versus a big company. Why does the larger company charge more? It's because they're worth what they charge, because they're established and they have consistent value in a specific field or area of interest. Your goal is to mimic this and analyze how you can provide value. So the first aspect of creating value is through the experience. Ask yourself questions like, what do your clients feel, receive, and talk about when they hire you that they won't get from somewhere else? Think about an Apple store versus a circa 2002 Radio Shack. Which store made you feel like you were buying a higher quality product? Apple. It's Apple, sorry. Next is specialization. What do you offer them that no one else can? And that's, again, narrowing that side hustle, making it unique. Exclusivity. How do my clients stand out after my service? When you've got something no one else does, price can go up, whether justified or not. That happens when the customer belongs to a brand or the social group that it creates. So this is really tied into marketing. So when I am marketing earrings that maybe convey minimalist, modern, high income individual status, that's that brand that they're buying into. That's exclusivity. Next is quality. Am I offering a higher quality service than those in my price range? That's very simple. Deliver superior quality. My coworker Laura, she owns and operates Cult Classics Vintage, which specializes in vintage finds, but she also makes polymer clay jewelry. And she once told me in order to test the durability of her earrings, she showers in them, she sleeps in them. She has also, for one precarious pair, swam into the ocean just to see the effect of salt water. So doing these things can ensure that your product is of a high quality. Next is recommendations. So what do your clients say about your service? Marketing that comes from customers is the best ammunition you can have in getting new clients. Next is presentation. How is my world, which is your what you're putting out in media, your person, your materials, representing my services and skills? Are you presenting yourself in a professional way that justifies your rates? So I manage a mistletoe market, which is a popular winter market in Urbana, and we get around 200 applications for the past 2 years, but we only let in like 35 to 50 depending on the space. And I always ask people, send me an image of your display, your setup, your branding. No matter how high quality their material is or their product or service is, if their presentation isn't up to par, I don't want their participation in my market because it's going to bring the image of the market down. So, and it's horrible, especially when someone has beautiful items that they can sell. But that just goes to show how important your presentation is. Okay, so again, determining how much to charge, starting off at that base value, and then adding a little bit extra by creating value. All right, so now that you've been doing the side hustle for a while, you want to establish more value and grow. So by sharing your vision with others, and this can be from a focus on marketing, by using language consistent with your knowledge and excitement, getting the word out about what you're doing. So sharing your business with others in a way that conveys your passion and experience. So I would wear large statement earrings, maybe ones that I normally wouldn't even go for, with neutral outfits. So others that I would engage with would focus on my earrings, and when they asked where I got them, I would enthusiastically tell them about my passion and a business card. Offer a guarantee. You can't refund everyone, but don't take money if the customer is unhappy, especially when you're starting off. So if any of my earrings break, I repair them at no cost or replace them. And that also, I've had so many repeat customers come back just because of that guarantee. If it's a service that you're offering, consider non-refundable deposits for larger jobs. So you could email someone if they want to quote, it's assumed that my first draft might not be perfect, so 3 corrections come with no cost. If there are further revisions needed, we will discuss remediation terms separately. It's really important to mention your terms because it helps with recommendations, and saying it up front helps manage expectations. So you don't want to promise something that you can't deliver. And again, this helps manage client expectations. Then you want to create synergy, which is such a 25-cent word. So we wanted to develop a service relationship with our client, especially with customized products or experiences. Synergy is when you want to respect your creative vision, but put their thoughts, opinions, and ideas first. You're building synergy by asking your client, what are your expectations for a finalized product? Or is there anything small you can think of that would make my product really special? It's creating that relationship with them. Lastly, preparation is key. So what would happen if you were in a 100-meter dash race, but I gave you a 10-second head start? You'd probably win. Take this approach and transfer it to your business. Meetings start as phone calls, emails, or DMs. Inside these seemingly insignificant interactions are cues that provide you with information about a client's objective and vision. Once you've started that conversation and you have scheduled your initial meeting or consultation, take an hour before and develop a sketch, a sample, or a draft. Let them know that this is all preliminary, but I thought of a few things before a meeting and I thought I'd share my vision. Make this successful virtually as well. So during the meeting, after it started, email them so your vision or your document and go through it together so they don't have to dig through their inbox to find it. I'm assuming we don't have any questions, so I'm just keeping on going through. All right, now you've been doing the side hustle for a little bit and you want to raise your rate. You're no longer that fresh out of college graphic designer. You have a lot of experience under your belt, and so there isn't a formula for when this will happen. There isn't a time frame. This only happens once you've established a large pool of clients or customers and you've gotten customer feedback. So in order to get that feedback, you ask them questions like, was my product worth more than what you paid for? Or would you be comfortable recommending me to your friends? Are you happy with the service or product that I provided? You can really utilize watching for body cues and detect honesty. So once you realize your value is up, your price is actually lower than the established value, and it's time for a strategic raise. To current clients, do not surprise people with an increase. It's rude and shows that you don't value them as a returning client. You have choices of continuing to provide them with your previous going rate, discounts, or increasing across the board. You could send them an email that's, hello David, starting September 20th, my hourly rate will change from $20 an hour to $40 an hour. This is an increase as a result of some new technology, manufacturing, or skills I'll be incorporating into my services and the increase of my bottom line costs. I want to continue to drive the relationship between us, so any work booked before that date will be billed at the current going rate. So always have that email. Make sure you explain why you're raising your rate, why you're worth that increase essentially. But always understand you may lose some clients and that's okay. Because if you're increasing your hourly rate from $20 to $40, you've already made up that client lost with one client gained. All right, to new clients, all your promos, emails, quotes, always mention the going rate. By doing that, you're managing expectations and eliminating needless interactions that waste your now $40 an hour valuable time. So just being clear and letting them know what you're worth is so important. Next is, once you've raised your rate, to continue your side hustle on that upward spiral, create your community by using social media. That helps kind of set the groundwork to succeed. Also getting involved in an association or a professional group. You could join private online or social media groups related to what you're pursuing. There's a great group on Facebook called Tuesdays Together for people who identify as creative entrepreneurs or makers. And I think there's about 200 individuals in there right now. And it's an amazing way to ask for services, like a photographer for a wedding shoot needs a makeup artist stat. They just post on there and 15 people comment. It's an amazing way to grow your own network and also become more valuable to your client. So the photographer of the bride or groom who needs a new makeup artist, then being able to provide that service makes it more personalized and will increase their likelihood of getting recommended from that bride or groom to others. So I recommend exploring social media, using hashtags that are relevant to your industry that you want to get into, and connecting online with people who run in similar circles, or even fans, people who really like what you're providing. So if you want to make some natural curly hair products, there are pages dedicated to curly hair styles. Get in on those pages and start talking about why you're passionate about providing a service for curly hair and get people excited about your product. So next, you want to go through your old contacts and reach out to your older network. So by working these contacts, you just start emailing old connections, previous coworkers. Don't be afraid to ask for referrals, recommendations, or even introductions. But when you do this, please, please do not just email them, "Hey, Dave again, can you hook me up with some people in your network that you know might like my stuff?" You should not be vague at all. You need to be very specific. So, Dave, do you know someone in nonprofits who works in social media marketing? I'd love to meet them for XYZ reason. Could you please make an introduction? And again, when you're on the receiving end, don't make blind introductions. Always ask both parties if they're interested in being connected or if they would want that. Also, when you're connecting with old employers or even just friends that you haven't talked to in about a year or so, don't assume they'll know to contact you. They're not psychic. Reconnect with them if it makes sense for your new venture. Essentially, if you're offering an extension of what you've offered to them previously when you worked with them, just ask them if they need help with something. By doing that, you should really introduce yourself, make it personal, bring up your business, and then make it relevant to them. So, hi, I'm Madeleine. Had such a good time when we worked at this company and we collaborated on this specific project together. I wasn't sure, I was just checking in if you were still doing similar projects, and if you need assistance, here's some things that I can help with on in my new graphic design company. So it's also recommended to assess their business sites or emails or social channels and suggest ways in which you can take their business to the next level if you are reaching out to previous employers. By showing the legwork and interest, they'll see that you have specific ideas on how to make their business better and then create a more lasting impression. All right, motivation and balance. If additional income is your driving force, that's amazing. But for most, that's actually not enough to continue in the long haul. The Harvard Business Review study that I had mentioned earlier, so they examined over 1,000 individuals who held full-time jobs and side hustles. They identified that the most successful side hustles need to include feedback, significance, and skill variety. So finding a side hustle that's perceived to be significant or directly influential to the lives or work of others and yourself should increase enrichment for you from the work. So an example of this is selling goods online versus business consulting. By just selling goods online, you're not making that personal connection with others, but with business consulting, you're developing a relationship. You know that your services are directly improving and impacting their life, and that's incredibly valuable. So also finding a side hustle that involves a variety of skills. That's one of my favorite things of having a jewelry business, because I'm not only getting to create the jewelry, but I get to be in charge of making my branding. I learned how to use some new graphic design software, and that skill has again improved my full-time gig. So yeah, finding these new skills that are really engaging is so important. Next is pacing. Managing your energy and minimizing distractions. It is so tempting to slide straight from your full-time job into your side hustle, like maybe having like a 5 or 10 break for food. But it's so important to find time to unplug from both your full-time and your side hustle. I would recommend limiting your side hustle to certain days of the week and scheduling them in order to put less stress on yourself and manage your energy. So minimizing distractions, you're much less likely to be distracted by your side hustle on Etsy if you can fully complete the order you're doing for a customer during the weekend, rather than spreading it out for a couple of days. Next is attitude. You should be drawing from the positive resources of your side hustle work. So creating jewelry helps me relieve stress and explore my creative side. It helps change my mindset on how my side hustle benefits me. And that will make you want to continue it in the long run. Next is delegating and outsourcing. The reality of starting a side hustle is that you're going to have weaknesses. Do the things that you're good at and work to outsource what you're not. Make sure you're taking into consideration how valuable your time is and that it increases when you've established value and experience. Managing time, again, blocking off specific time frames, time chunks to do your side hustle, and just treat it like any other appointment. Excellent. You should also be realistic and flexible about time. Really asking yourself, am I getting enough friend or family time? Do I have space for a new project with this side hustle? Am I going to bed too late or waking up too early again? And that's involved in reviewing and reflecting. Taking notes during your journey allows you to recognize shortcomings and identify how to work more efficiently and effectively. Are there areas of your growing gig you could outsource to make room for more lucrative incentives? Is the documentation system working to your advantage? Are you spending more time creating newsletters but not receiving any feedback? Manage your anxiety about this by working on it a little bit every week or once a month. I have a little journal at home that when I'm really doing some active side hustling, I tend to document what I'm doing in order for me to easily reflect and manage anxiety about. So lastly is the growth mindset. Customer feedback is market demand, and that is your backbone of your business. The best way to grow your side hustle is by increasing the customer's experience. So this involves honing in on your customer's experience by road testing new ideas in your newsletters or connecting over social media and receiving immediate feedback before you might go full scale with your new idea. Using their feedback to figure out how to make it better than it could if you just thrust that new service upon them. For example, for those who are creating content, like writing for blogs or taking pictures for social media accounts, it's not the editors that approve the stories. Customer experience is how the readers or viewers react, like, share, and critique. So identify buying trends. You might see that selling goods doubles down during the winter holiday season. So what are some techniques you can do now or solutions you can do in order to get ready for that? Maybe in October you make an additional 1,000 pair of earrings or push out some additional newsletters letting people know of a deal coming up. Also, working from home has increased the need for virtual sessions. So that's a buying trend. It's people who want things that are more accessible, that they can access from home. So exploring and being flexible, essentially, with where your side hustle can go. So I have an image of Lola. She runs Go by Lola, and she also selected to wear one of my earrings for her photo shoot. But she sells body products, but she also did yoga and dance classes in person and even meditation retreats. She has pivoted and understood that the buying trend right now, we're not doing in-person events. So she has gone virtual, and she's not only gone virtual with practicing yoga, meditation, she also delivers some of her items to people's houses so they don't have to go outside. It's essentially, a side hustle is going to change how you view what's most important, and it'll challenge your willingness to get really creative and do whatever work you need to in order to be flexible to your customer base. And lastly, expressing gratitude. So personalizing services is a surefire way to earn solid recommendations from previous clients who stand by your talents. Word of mouth is powerful, no matter the industry, and often it's the loudest marketing voice in the room. You want to be in touch with people who hired you and offer them a discount for continued service or a perk if they refer someone to you. So by providing exceptional service and enhancing that customer experience in every way you can, you're increasing the likelihood of having a stream of clients coming in. This looks like personalized emails. It could be if you have a pop-up coffee shop. Dave comes in every Tuesday and he only purchases a coffee. Maybe one day you should be like, hey Dave, I would love to just throw in a croissant just so you can try it, and also just thank you for being a regular patron. Not only are you expressing gratitude to make Dave's day the best ever, but you're also having him try one of your other products so he might then in the future purchase it. So this also, expressing gratitude can also look like you being a good listener. So again, that's with Dave utilizing his preference to introduce him to some new goods or services. And lastly, this includes thank you notes. So a lot of people sell their clothing online. They're used clothing through Poshmark or therealreal.com. the most successful sellers who have actually made this into their own side hustle, they actually personalize their packages and write handwritten notes, which again increases the likelihood of that customer coming back to them and making their experience great and wonderful. So I hope that I have provided you all a good, very broad kind of coverage of how to start, grow, and then sustain your side hustle in the long run. Again, I'm Madeleine Wolske. I am the incoming new business librarian, and I'm so looking forward to collaborating on your new businesses, your new side hustles, or just if you have a question, I'm here to help. And on
Thank
that note,
you
does
so
anyone have any
much.
questions?
Madeleine, we did get a question about maybe providing access to the slides for the people who came in today. And
Yes, I am so happy to provide a PDF.
excellent. Thank you
Yeah,
so
just make a
much.
note, or if you could email me at mwolske@champaign.org that you want some slides, I'm happy to share.
Does anyone else have any questions? If you'd like, you can also raise your hand and I can unmute you and you can actually ask a question. We have about 7 more minutes, so that's time for a few more questions. So definitely take advantage if you have anything on your mind. Even if you're wondering, what your side hustle maybe should be.
Yeah, I'm also curious, do the majority of people here, do you already have a side hustle in mind?
We did get a question. You mentioned a cool tool for organizing for an event. What are your fave tools?
For organizing an event? So maybe, are you referencing to the one that my friend shared with me for time management?
Yes.
Okay, so that was a PDF that she had made, and I can resurrect it and share it with you. I believe it's what they use for Pachakacha. I don't know if you've been to any of the local shows, but it's a way of specifically for managing shows. So if you have lighting production, marketing, it allows you to narrow down and kind of identify those milestones for when you want to get something done and who's going to do it. But I'm so happy to email that to you if you just shoot me an email asking for it.
Do you have to charge sales tax for a side hustle?
It depends on what you're selling. So if it is a good, yes. And also thinking about, okay, so there's Illinois tax, there's also state tax. There also might be other specialized taxes for what you're providing. If you, again, get in contact with me, we can really identify what taxes you need to be aware of. So like for my earrings, I have to do the Illinois sales tax and then also a county tax.
That's really great information. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
All right. We just got a comment that, looking forward to using the suggested resources.
Awesome.
One other resource that I would recommend, it's a little on the drier side, some of the duller information, but the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity actually has a pretty great, it's available as a PDF. We also have hard copies available at the library, but it's the Starting Your Business in Illinois workbook, which has a bunch of information and then also some places that you can work through things. Now, it does include stuff like, write your business plan. And for a side hustle, that may not be something that's useful, especially in the early days. But let me see if I can find a link to it. One moment.
Yeah, I think I used it when I decided if I wanted to be a sole proprietor or just register my name. Do you want me to stop screen sharing?
No, it's okay. You can keep it up. I need to still find it. Publications. Starting Your Business in Illinois PDF. That's what we want. Okay. I don't know if you guys will be able to click on that or what. Some of the information, it's a little older. Some of the information in there last time I checked, like the cost of starting an LLC was incorrect. It was higher than it actually is, but it's a really great book. I think it goes into additional details on some of the things that Madeleine had mentioned, including what business structure you might choose, and also things about licenses, like specifically what licensing is required in Illinois, because depending on which state you start your business in, different licenses may be required. It's a state by state thing and even a city by city thing. So this city may require that you need a license if you're doing certain types of businesses in Champaign, whereas Urbana might have different rules. You can find that information on, they have a business portal as well, which Madeleine can also direct you towards.
Yeah.
All right, are there any other questions? Well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you for doing such a great job, Madeleine. I'm so,
Thanks.
that was a really, really informative webinar. I really appreciated it. And I look forward to seeing all the amazing things you do, and seeing that picture of the library there makes me want to cry. Anyway, thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day. Have a great week, and stay safe and healthy.
Yeah. Thank you again for attending.
All right. Bye-bye.